Let me ask you about the famine of the 30s.
Yeah.
Do you think
In the Ukraine?
In the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah. Fun.
Similar, a lot of the things you mentioned in the last few sentences kind of echo to that part of human history.
The Holodomor,
which
no one knows about.
Well, now I've just spent 4 weeks in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
There's different parts of the world that still, even if they don't know, they know.
Yeah, right.
They feel history runs in the blood.
The Dutch knew, in some sense. They had a famine at the end of World War II, and part of the reason the Dutch farmers are so unbelievably efficient and productive is that the Dutch swore at the end of World War II that that was not going to happen again. And then they had to scrape land out of the ocean because Holland, that's quite a country. It shouldn't even exist. The fact that it's the world's number 2 exporter, you know that? It's the world's number 2 exporter of agricultural products, Holland. It's like, I don't think it's as big as Massachusetts. It's this little tiny place. It shouldn't even exist. And they want to put, here's the plan. Let's put 30% of the farmers out of business. Well, the broader ecosystem of agricultural production in Holland is 6% of their GDP. Now, these centralizing politicians think, tell me if I'm stupid about this. Take an industry. You knock it back by fiat by 30%. Now, it runs on like a 3% profit margin. Now, you're going to kill 30% of it. How are you not going to bring the whole thing down, the whole farming ecosystem down? How are you not going to impoverish the transport systems? How are you not going to demolish the grocery stores? You can't take something like that and pare it back by fiat by 30% and not kill it. I can't see how you can do that. I mean, look what we did with the COVID lockdowns. We broke the supply chains. Have you tried buying something lately? You can't, and aren't the Chinese threatening Taiwan at the moment? What are we going to do without chips? So I don't know what these people are thinking. And then I think, okay, what are they thinking? Well, the Deloitte people are thinking, aren't we smart? And shouldn't we be hired by our corporate employers? It's like, okay, too bad about the poor. What are the environmentalists thinking? We love the planet. It's like, do you? We love the poor. Do you? Okay, let's pit the planet against the poor. Who wins? The planet. Okay, you don't love the poor that much. Do you love the planet? Or do you hate capitalism? Let's pit those two things against each other. Oh, well, it turns out we actually hate capitalism. How can we tell? Because you're willing to break it. And you know what's going to happen? So what's going to happen in Sri Lanka with these 20 million people who now have nothing to eat? Are they going to eat all the animals? Are they going to burn all the firewood? They're stockpiling firewood in Germany. It's like, so is your environmental globalist utopia going to kill the poor and destroy the planet? And that's okay because we'll wipe out capitalism. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the dragon and the fear of the dragon drives ideologies, some of which can build a better world, some of which can destroy that world.
Yeah, what do you think of that theory about trustworthiness? If the dragon that you're facing turns you into a terrified tyrant, you're not the man for the job. Is that a good theory?
It's an interesting theory. Let me use that theory to challenge, because what does terror look like? Let me turn the tables on you. You are terrified, afraid, concerned about the dragon of something we can call communism, Marxism.
Am I terrified of it?
Well,
terrified enough to be a tyrant.
Your theories had two components.
Yeah. I'm not paralyzed.
Had a dragon.
Yeah, I'm not paralyzed, and I don't want to be a tyrant.
The tyrant part, I think, is missing with you. But so you are very concerned. The intensity of your feeling does not give much space, actually, at least in your public persona, for sitting quietly with the dragon and sipping in a couple of beers and thinking about this thing. The intensity of your anger, concern about certain things you're seeing in society, is that going to drive you off the path that ultimately takes us to a better world?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm trying to get that right. So we've kind of come to a cultural conclusion about the Nazis. Do you get to be angry about the Nazis? Seems the answer to that is yes.
Well, actually, let me push back here. I also don't trust people who are angry about the Nazis. Because
I mean the actual Nazis.
Well, there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of people in the world that use actual Nazis to mean a lot of things.
I know.
One of them is very important to me.
Me, for example.
Well, yes.
He's a Nazi, or magical super Nazi, as it turns out.
I think they actually sort of steel man all their perspectives. I think a lot of people that call you a Nazi mean it. So
yeah, I'm aware of that.
There's an important thing there, though, because I went to the front in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that lost their home or that got to interact a lot with Russian soldiers, Ukrainian people that interact with the Russian soldiers, they reported that the Russian soldiers really believe they're saving the people of Ukraine in these local villages from the Nazis.
I understand, yeah.
So to them, it's not just that the Ukrainian government has, or Ukraine has some Nazis. It's like it has been, the idea is that the Nazis have taken over Ukraine and we need to free them. This is the belief.
Yeah.
So this, again, Nazi is still a dragon that lives.
Yeah.
And it's used by people because it's safe to sit next to that dragon and spread any kind of ideology you want. So I just want to kind of say that we have agreed on this particular dragon, but I still don't trust anybody who uses that.
Yeah, but we have issues with boundaries, right? No, it's so this is a very complicated problem, right? Yeah. So René Girard believed that it was a human proclivity to demonize the scapegoat and then drive it out of the village. And I've thought about that a lot. We need a place to put Satan. Like, seriously, this is a serious issue.
Should he be inside the village or outside?
Well, maybe he should be inside you, right? That's the fundamental essence of the Christian doctrine. It's like Satan is best fought on the battleground of your soul. And that's right. It's right.
Can you actually put words to the kind of dragon that you're fighting? Is it communism?
It's the spirit of Cain. Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
Well,
what the spirit of Cain is?
So, after Adam and Eve are thrown out of paradise for becoming self-conscious, or when they become self-conscious, they're destined to work. And the reason for that, as far as I can tell, is that to become self-conscious is to become aware of the future. It's to become aware of death. That certainly happens in the Adam and Eve story. To have the scales fall from your eyes. And then the consequence of that is that you now have to labor to prevent the catastrophes of the future. That's work. Work is sacrifice. Sacrifice of the present to the future. It's delay of gratification. It's maturity. It's sacrifice to something as well, and in the spirit of something. Okay, so now Adam and Eve have two children, Cain and Abel. So those are the first two people in history, because the Garden of Eden doesn't count. And they're the first two people who are born rather than created. So they're the first two people. And that's a hell of a story, because it's a story of fratricidal murder that degenerates into genocide, flood, and tyranny. So that's fun for the opening salvo of the story, let's say. And Abel and Cain both make sacrifices. And for some reason, Abel's sacrifices please God. It's not exactly clear why. And Cain's don't. Now, there's an implication in the text that it's because Cain's sacrifices are second rate. God says that Abel brings the finest to the sacrificial altar. He doesn't say that about Cain. So you could imagine that Cain is sacrificing away, but he's holding something in reserve. He's not all in. He's not bringing his best to the table. He's not offering his best to God. And so Abel thrives like mad. And everyone loves him. And he gets exactly what he needs and wants, exactly when he needs and wants it. He's favored of God. And Cain is bearing this terrible burden forward and working. And his sacrifices are rejected. So he gets resentful, really resentful enough to call God out and say something like, "This is quite the creation you've got going here. I'm breaking myself in half and nothing good's coming my way. What the hell's up with that?" And then there's Abel, the sun's shining on him every day. "How dare you?" It's like, okay, but this is God that Cain's talking to. And so God says what Cain least wants to hear, which is what God usually says to people. He says, "Look to your own devices. You're not making the sacrifices you should, and you know it." And then he says something even worse. He says, "Sin crouches at your door like a sexually aroused predatory animal, and you've invited it in to have your way, to have its way with you." And so he basically says, you have allowed your resentment to preoccupy yourself, and now you're brooding upon it and generating something creative, new, and awful, possessed by the spirit of resentment. And that's why you're in the miserable state you're in. So then Cain leaves. His countenance falls, as you might expect. And Cain leaves, and he's so incensed by this because God has said, look, your problems are of your own making. And not only that, you invited them in. And not only that, you engaged in this creatively. And not only that, you're blaming it on me. And not only that, that's making you jealous of Abel, who's your actual idol and goal. And Cain, instead of changing, kills Abel. Right. And then Cain's descendants are the first people who make weapons of war. And so that's, okay, you want to know what I think? That's the eternal story of mankind. And it's playing out right now, except at 1,000 times the rate.
Can I present to you a difficult truth? Perhaps not a truth, but a thought I have, that it is not always easy to know which among us are the Cain.
That's for sure.
And resentment, it is possible to imagine you as the person who has a resentment towards a particular worldview that you really worry about.
Yeah, well, I talked to a good friend of mine last week about that publicly. We'll release it. So I said, well, do I have a particular animus against the left, let's say? It's like, well, probably. Okay, why? Well, first of all, I'm a university professor. It's not like the universities are threatened by the right. They're threatened by the left, 100%. And they're not just threatened a little bit, they're threatened a lot. And that threat made it impossible for me to continue in my profession the way I was. And it cost me my clinical practice too. And that's not over yet, because I have 10 lawsuits against me out right now from the College of Psychologists, because they've allowed anyone to complain about me anywhere in the world for any reason, and have the choice to follow that up with an investigation, which is a punishment in and of itself, and are doing so. And then I've been tortured nearly to death multiple times by bad actors on the left. Now, I've had my fair share of radical right-wingers being unhappy with what I've said, but personally, that's been the left the whole time. Not only me, but my family put my family at risk in a big way, and constantly, like not once or twice, because many people get canceled once or twice. But I've been canceled like 40 times. And I know like 200 people now who've been canceled. And I can tell you without doubt that it is one of the worst experiences of their life. And that's if it only happens once. And then I also know that the communists killed 100 million people in the 20th century, that the intellectuals excused them for it nonstop and still haven't quit, that almost no one knows about it, and that the specter of resentful Marxism is back in full force. And so do I have a bit of an animus against that? Yes. Does it go too far? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
The story you just told, seems nearly impossible for you an intellectual powerhouse not to have a tremendous amount of resentment.
Well,
and this is so let me challenge you.
Yeah,
let me challenge you.
Go right ahead, man.
Let me challenge you. Can you steel man the case that the Prime Minister of this country, Trudeau, wants the best for this country and actually might do good things for this country as an intellectual challenge?
Sure. He seems to get along well with his wife. He has some kids. There's no sexual scandals. And he's in a position where that could easily be the case. He seems to have done some good things on the oceanic management front. He's put a fair bit of Canada's oceans into marine protected areas, and that might be his most fundamental legacy, if it's real. I've been trying to get information about the actual reality of the protection, and I haven't been able to do that. But that's a good thing.
So sorry, the family thing is there's some aspect
speaks to his character.
His character. There is some aspect to him that makes him a good man.
Well,
in that sense,
I mean, there's the evidence there. I mean, he's not a Jeffrey Epstein profligate on the sexual front, so that's something. And his wife, they seem to have a real marriage, and he has kids, so good for him.
That's a good start, by the way, for a leader.
Yeah, right.
To be a good man.
Well, then I also thought, okay, well, after the Liberals had brought in a Harvard intellectual who was a Canadian to be their last leader, he didn't work out. And then they're flailing about for a leader. And the Liberals in Canada are pretty good at maintaining power and leadership and have been the dominant governing party in Canada for a long time. And so they went to Justin and said, well, it's you or a conservative. And you can imagine that's not a positive specter for someone who's on the left or even a liberal, especially, and Trudeau's quite a bit on the left. And they said, we need you to run. And then I thought, okay, well, the answer to that should have been no, because Justin has no training for this, no experience. He's a part-time drama teacher fundamentally. He hadn't run a business. He just didn't know enough to be prime minister. But then I'm trying to put myself in his position. So it's like, okay, I don't know enough, but I'm young and we don't want the Conservatives. And they had a run, a 10-year run. So maybe it was time for a new government. Maybe I could grow into this man. Maybe I could surround myself with good people and I could learn humbly and I could become the person I'm now pretending to be, which we all have to do as we move forward, right? And so then I thought, okay, I think you made a mistake there because you ran only on your father's name and you didn't have the background. But let's give the devil his due and say that's no problem. Okay, so now what do? Well, you get elected and your first act is to make the cabinet 50% women, despite the fact that only 25% of the elected members are female. It's like, okay, you just halved your talent pool. That was a really bad move for your first move.
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
Do you think, where does that move come from? Deep somewhere in the heart? Or
No.
is it trying to listen to the social forces of the moment and try to ride those ways towards maybe greater and greater popularity?
After thinking it through. It's like, no, you just halved your talent pool for cabinet positions. That's what you did. There's enough cabinet positions. You could argue that each of them met threshold. It's like, there's a big difference between threshold and excellent.
So you don't think that came from a place of compassion?
I don't care if it did. I don't regard compassion as a virtue. Compassion is a reflex, not a virtue.
You don't think...
Judicious compassion is a virtue.
Wait a minute. Compassion can come deep from the human heart and the human mind, I think. Are we talking about the same kind of compassion?
Yes.
Trying to understand the suffering.
Treating adults like infants is not virtuous.
I see. But compassion isn't treating adults like infants. I mean, those are just terms.
Are you sure?
Okay. Whatever the term is, maybe love is maybe the better
compassion
word.
Is.
I mean, I suppose I'm speaking to love. You don't think those ideas came from concern?
Love is compassion.
You don't think
love is a blend of compassion and encouragement and truth. Love is complicated, man.
Yeah,
if I love you, things in it. If I love you, is it compassion or encouragement you want from me?
Yeah, it's a dance. Love is definitely a dance of two humans. Ultimately, that leads to the growth of both.
Well,
yes.
that's the thing. The growth element is crucial.
Yeah.
Because the growth element, to foster the growth element, that requires judgment. Compassion and judgment, well, even, and have been conceptualized this way forever, two hands of God, mercy and justice. They have to operate in tandem, right? And mercy is, flawed as you are, you're acceptable. It's like, well, do you want that? Do you want your flaws to be acceptable? And the answer to that is no. It's like, well, that's where the judgment comes in. It's like, but you could be better. You could be more than you are. And that's the maternal and the paternal in some fundamental sense. And there has to be an active exchange of information between those two poles. So even if Trudeau was motivated by compassion, and it's like, yeah, just how loving are you, first of all? No, it was a really bad decision. And then he's expressed contempt for monetary policy. I'm not interested in monetary policy. It's like, okay, but you're prime minister. And he's expressed admiration for the Chinese Communist Party because they can be very efficient in their pursuit of environmental goals. It's like, oh yeah, efficiency, eh? The efficiency of the tyranny in the service of your terror. And I've watched him repeatedly and I've listened to him a lot, and I've tried to do that clinically and with some degree of dispassion. And that's hard too, because his father, Pierre, devastated the West in 1982 with the national energy policy. And Trudeau is doing exactly the same thing again. And so as a Westerner as well, I have an inbuilt animus, and one that's well-deserved, because central Canada, especially the glittery, literati elite types in the Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto triangle, have exploited the West and expressed contempt for the West far too much for far too long. And that's accelerating at the moment, for example, with Trudeau's recent attack on the Canadian farmers. He's an enemy of the oil and gas industry, which is an utter and absolute bloody catastrophe. And look what's happened in Europe, at least in partial consequence. And he's no friend to the farmers. So I've tried to steel man him, I try to put myself in the position of the people that I'm criticizing. I think he's a narcissist.
Do you think there's a degree to which power changed him?
If you're not suited for the position, if you're not the man for the position, you can be absolutely 100% sure that the power will corrupt you. How could it not? I mean, at the least, if you don't have the chops for the job, you have to devalue the job to the point where you can feel comfortable inhabiting it. So, yes, I think that it's corrupted him. And I mean, look at him doubling down. We wear masks in flights into Canada. We have to fill out an ArriveCan bureaucratic form on our phones because a passport isn't good enough. We can't get a passport. What if you're 85 and you don't know how to use a smartphone? Oh, well, too bad for you.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, it's corrupted him.
Would you talk to him? Well, if you were to sit down and talk with him and he wanted to talk, would you, and what kind of things would you talk about, perhaps on your podcast?
I don't think I've ever said no to talking to anyone. So, which is,